Allahu Anime. Hello everyone and welcome to Anime Club After Dark, the podcast that delves into all things anime, manga, and otaku culture related. I'm your host Alex, but you can call me Senpai, and joining me tonight I have our Wizard of Wait What, Chinoda.
Hello there.
Oh my. And our Chivalry of Shota's Shotaro.
I'm sipping on Tim Hortons' signature chocolate chip ice cap, only $4.99 at your local store. No, I don't know how much it is, but yeah.
That's in loonies though, not real money.
So it's cheaper if you're American.
Exactly. Just bring your real money to Canada, you won't have a problem.
So, is this episode sponsored?
I wish.
I can tell you who it's not sponsored by. It's not sponsored by Crunchyroll. Because that's exactly what we're here to talk about tonight. So, if you're actually a Crunchyroll purist and an apologist, you might want to look away.
That's me. I should just leave now.
Anyway, so yeah, we're going to talk. I have some issues that I want to talk about. And one of those issues I have many issues, but an issue that I currently have is with Crunchyroll. It's not funny.
That's an understatement. You do have many issues.
It's not funny. But yeah, I think it's safe to say that some of us over the past couple years or so have had some issues with Crunchyroll, and we want to air our dirty laundry. So before we get into that, I just want to say, like, if you're not really up on the history of Crunchyroll, I just kind of want to go over it really quick. So Crunchyroll actually got started back in 2006 by a group of students at UC Berkeley. Since then, it's grown into an absolute, like, juggernaut. They have, I think it just passed last February, I believe it was, 1 million paid members. So, I mean,
by the way, a little tidbit, they were pirates originally.
That's very true. The first couple years that Crunchyroll was around, they basically just put up fan subs on their site and had people pay to watch them. So that's something I'm pretty sure that they would like everyone to forget. But they were pretty much a separate company, like an independently run company, up until about 2013, or the end of 2013, beginning of 2014. That's when they were jointly purchased by a holding company named Sharon Group, and then partially bought out by AT&T. So nowadays, Crunchyroll has a parent company named Elation, and we'll get into this in a little bit. Basically, Elation is Crunchyroll and Crunchyroll is Elation. So I don't really know why they make that distinction, but they do. But yeah, that's sort of like a brief history of Crunchyroll. I mean, everyone pretty much knows now that they have a big partnership with Funimation as well. And then they have this new platform called Verve, which was kind of rolled out by Elation about the same time that they took over as a parent company for Crunchyroll. So anyway, that is a brief history of how we got to where we are. So let's talk about our issues with Crunchyroll. Very brief. Yeah, let's talk about some of the issues we have. So probably the primary issue, well, two of the primary issues that I want to talk about, one of the two primary issues, is that over the last couple years, I've noticed personally, and I've heard other people say the same thing too, that Crunchyroll has a lot of server issues. And I mean, it's not just sporadic, it's pretty constant. And it happens a lot on Saturdays. It happens a lot on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays.
And
I know,
consistently too.
Yeah, consistently, over and over and over again. Now, I can tell you that I've been a long time subscriber to Crunchyroll. In fact, I got my original Crunchyroll subscription back in 2008. So I've been a paid subscriber for almost 10 years, and it's only in the last couple years that I've noticed these issues. But it really came to a head for me last spring 2017, because Crunchyroll was basically inaccessible on Saturdays. You had the second season of MHA, and you had the second season of Attack on Titan airing on the same day, on Saturday. And it just made it so that you couldn't access it at all on Saturday unless you got up either really, really early or stayed up really, really late.
And even then, most of the time, if it's really late, you can't access it because guess what was airing at nighttime? Super. Dragon Ball
Yeah.
Super specifically.
Yeah. So I mean, you were kind of fucked on both ends of the stick, basically. And
So-
like, go ahead.
When you couldn't access the website, what would happen? Like, did it just shut down the website, or would the videos just not play?
Well, it depends. It really depended. Sometimes you would be able to access the videos, but the videos themselves wouldn't play. Sometimes you wouldn't be able to access the site at all. It would basically come up with a message saying, "Hey, we're kind of busy right now. Do you mind heading over to Verve?" Which really pisses me off, and we're actually going to talk about it in a couple minutes.
I've never gotten that message. Would you please head over to VRV?
Well, I've gotten it several times, and it's incredibly annoying, and it actually pisses me off. But like I said, we'll talk about it in just a second. There was another thing that would happen where, to my knowledge, Crunchyroll still suffers from this issue that they've had since about 2010, where you'll get to a series that you like, you'll get to a specific episode, the episode will start playing, and you might pause it for like 60 or 90 seconds, and then when you come back to it, it stops streaming. Okay, and then you have to reload the page and restart from the beginning.
What? When I reload the page, it starts from where it stopped.
It doesn't always.
Okay.
Anyway, that's an issue that's been around since 2010, and they still haven't fixed it. So, and a big part of the problem for some people, I have a really fast internet connection. I know not everyone else does, but even I have a 150 megabit per second internet connection, and I'm the only one using it where I live. So I should be able to access just about anything almost instantaneously. So the problem's
You
not
would
on
think
my
so.
end, and I have a computer that can run anything. So the problem is definitely not on my end.
Sure. Could be your region though.
I mean, the United States?
Yeah. Because like I don't get a lot of your issues that you're describing where you can't access the site.
That's probably because only 5 Canadians watch anime.
That's what I'm saying. That maybe it's your region. Maybe you should move to a more niche region.
Yeah.
Or maybe they should fix their product.
Yeah, maybe they should fix their product that I'm fucking paying for. That's the point. Like, what's the point of me paying you money if you're not going to put out a quality product? And that's what this whole thing is about. It's like if you're a free user, like I really don't have any. I can't take anything that any issues that you have seriously because you're not fucking paying for it. But for those of us that do pay for it, I don't have a premium subscription. I have a premium plus subscription. So I pay, was it $8.99 a month or is it $9.99?
How do you have premium plus?
It's the
What
thing
the hell
that
is
they
Premium
have
Plus?
they have a tiered system now where you can get just the anime or the anime plus the manga.
What?
Wait, what? But manga used to be included. Really?
Wait, I'm pretty sure I have regular and I access manga though.
Yeah, same.
Oh, well, maybe they changed that. I know that with a Crunchyroll
thought-
Plus subscription, you get like discounts on the store stuff that you buy.
Oh, well that's your own issue.
Oh,
then.
yeah, I think that might be that.
They might have changed the. I know that originally when the manga thing came out, that they went with a Crunchyroll Plus subscription to access it, but they might have changed that in the interim. I don't know. I don't really use it that much. But from what I've heard, the manga app doesn't work anyway.
Well, it doesn't work for me, and it pisses me off. I would be really pissed off if I was paying directly for the manga app because I want to read manga on mobile. I don't want to read it on desktop, but I justify it because I was paying for the anime anyways, and the manga is just a bonus. So I'm like, fine, whatever. Don't work. I don't care.
Yeah, like if it's a feature that you never use, I mean, you probably just stop caring about it eventually. But
I mean,
if it
I
affects
use
other
it.
things,
I use it to read like Attack on Titan and Ajin, and I think that's it. But my the thing is that like I paid for the anime and then they added manga, so I'm not like super critical about the manga because I'm technically not paying for it because they didn't add an extra amount to the subscription fee to give access to manga. So I'm technically not paying for it, so I'm like not that critical, but they should really fix their app.
yeah. And when you say specifically the app, I'm assuming you're referring to just the mobile side of it, right?
The
Okay, shall we
Oh,
get
Apple
to
OS app.
Okay, shall we talk about the app for a moment because I have something to say about
Oh
this
yes,
shit.
please, because I had a feeling you had a few things to say about this. Because I think you primarily use Crunchyroll through the mobile app, don't you?
Not through the mobile app, through my Xbox app actually. I do use it on mobile, don't get me wrong, but mostly it's on my Xbox app. And boy oh boy is it shit. Holy crap, does it crash? Does it lag? It does everything that you wouldn't want an app to do. And it's like, what the hell am I even paying for if I have to deal with all this BS? And it pisses me off. It pisses me off so much.
I mean, does it still do that thing where it'll start playing and then just it'll automatically exit the app for you? Because I used
No,
to have
I
that
haven't.
issue on Xbox One, where I would start playing the video and then the app would just crash.
Luckily, I haven't run into that necessarily, but I don't doubt that it's a issue that's there.
I don't know, like I've never tried the app on PlayStation 4. I don't have a PlayStation 4, so I can't try it out even if I wanted to.
I have friends that have it on PlayStation 4, and they've told me they have similar issues.
Yeah,
So it's not a new thing, unfortunately.
yeah, it's not surprising, and I think they have an app on Roku, Boxy, Wii U, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, Xbox 360, Xbox One.
Basically,
Uh,
whatever you can have an app on, really.
yeah, Apple TV and WiiWare, which whatever
Yeah.
that is,
I
and it's
use
also available on
the
iOS and Android.
I use the Apple TV app and it works good for the most part. Maybe like 1 in 200 times I use it, it just won't open. The app won't work. But for the most part, it's pretty good.
Well, and going back to what I said before, and this is part of what kind of irritates me, is that like even if you're a fan of something like Dragon Ball Super or MHA or Attack on Titan, like not being able to access a site that you pay for is bullshit.
Honestly, if I was like a hardcore fan and I needed to see the episode when it was airing and then the site crashed, I would literally just torrent it off horrible subs that rips off Crunchyroll.
I'll be honest, I do that. I
But yeah,
fucking have to
that's-
do
Even
that.
though I pay for Crunchyroll, I would like rip it off if the site is not working. And I'm like, I need it now.
Well, and there's a point to be made there, in that like if you keep this up, all you're gonna do is drive people to either a competitor who actually has the same stuff that you have, or you're gonna drive people to outright pirate it, which helps no one.
And here's another big problem. And this is a pretty big thing I'm about to get into. The fact that they're trying to push so many onto Verve, which isn't available in a lot of the other countries. So,
That's true.
what are the people in other countries gonna do when they can't get into this, into Crunchyroll because it's failing? They're gonna pirate it. The industry is gonna suffer just because you won't fix this shit.
Yeah, and actually, this leads us into something else. And actually, this is the whole reason that we decided to talk about this. So, what was this? About a month ago, there was a post that appeared on Reddit from someone who was allegedly a former product manager and developer at Crunchyroll, who basically put up a post say, should I just read it out loud?
Isn't it pretty long?
I mean, it's a couple paragraphs.
Up to you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So basically, I'll kind of paraphrase it a little bit. So he basically says that when Crunchyroll was invested in by the Showman Group and later became a parent company or a subsidiary of Elation, upper management made a conscious and wildly unpopular decision to invest all resources in the platform, which is what it was called at the time. It's now called Verve, and subsequently stopped all development and improvements on Crunchyroll and services, perhaps with only the exception of some video processing technology, which I'm assuming is how they're actually uploading the videos onto their servers. It sounds like that was an instantaneous decision, but it was more like a 6 to 9 month period of all resources and developers slowly being moved off of Crunchyroll projects and reassigned to Verve. Then finally the decree was handed down in a rather depressing all-hands meeting. No new feature developments on Crunchyroll. And he makes a point to say that this happened back in 2016 and it may have changed now. He's no longer employed at Crunchyroll. And then he also goes on to say that a bunch of people kind of spoke up and said, this doesn't seem right, this doesn't benefit the end user's experience. And he says that ultimately the majority of those individuals were quote-unquote laid off when it was decided to outsource all engineering efforts to Moldova. Now, Moldova is a fucking poor place, but really cheap labor. Well, anyway, so the point I do this to bring this up is that, obviously, when the whole takeover and parent company evaluation thing happened, a lot of balls were dropped. And it seems like upper management doesn't even really know how to run a streaming company anymore. They want to be an entertainment company. So it seems like they're kind of cutting off of their nose despite their face. That's what it sounds like to me.
Unfortunate.
And actually,
What do you mean an entertainment company?
Like they want to be more than just a streaming company for anime.
Oh, so they're biting off more than they can chew?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm getting from a lot of this, and that they stopped caring about the people that they were serving and just wanted to compete with other entertainment companies. They wanted to be a brand instead of a service.
Sure.
But we
Which
can't
is understandable, honestly, it is. But if you're gonna go about it in such a way, you're just gonna crash. You're not gonna succeed.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out that we can't verify the identity of the person who posted this on Reddit, but what a lot of the stuff that he says in his post does kind of mirror a lot of reviews for Crunchyroll and Elation that you see on a site called Glassdoor, which is an employment and employer reviewing company or site that you can go to online. They also do, like, you put your resume on there and find jobs, but and I think a good thing to do, we'll definitely link all of this in the description below, so definitely check it out if you really want to look through this stuff. But the fact that it mirrors so many people who definitely were either current or former employees kind of says a lot that there may be more to this than, you think. But my whole thing with this, like, okay, I get it. Verve is, in theory, a really good idea. I mean, with Verve, you get access to things like Cartoon Hangover, Crunchyroll, Curiosity Stream, Funimation, Geek and Sundry, The Nerdist, Rooster Teeth, and a couple other things, all in one spot, and all for about $10 a month.
It's very convenient, and it is a very nice site. I was just using it yesterday to watch Red vs. Blue, and I was really loving it. It's a really decent site. I don't mind it.
It's got a nice user interface. You can kind of customize how it looks a little bit, and you can kind of organize, what you want to see where. It's really nice, and in theory it's a great idea. My problem is that, like we mentioned before, it's pretty shitty of them to kind of shadow force everyone over to it so they can. It almost seems like they want to shut down Crunchyroll entirely and just move everything over to Verve. And, like, as someone who's been around for a long time, I used to love Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll used to be the big man on campus. It used to be at the top of the mountain. Now it's almost like it's at the bottom of the valley. And according to a lot of the stuff that I've read from former employees, the company just doesn't care anymore.
And of all things, that's the biggest shame.
Yeah. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I still have a subscription, and I plan to have a subscription for a long time, because they still garner a lot. But as I was saying before, it seems like they're trying to do way too much. Like, I don't give two fucking shits about their stupid awards show. And I really, like, who gives a fuck about their stupid anime expo they're trying to do?
It gives legitimacy to the company, which allows more Japanese companies to invest in them.
I mean,
like, the profits alone should be enough proof, though.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you used to have a Japanese company, TV Tokyo, a 20% owner of Crunchyroll, and now they're not. What does that tell you? That the Japanese don't even really want to be invested in it?
I don't think that. Didn't just Elation buy them out?
Oh, they bought out their shares, but I mean, TV Tokyo could have said no.
Okay.
Or they could have bought more shares. I mean, a lot of things could have. If TV Tokyo really had that much faith in what Crunchyroll could do, why wouldn't they have tried to keep their stake in the company?
I don't know. Japanese companies don't seem very aggressive in overseas investments.
That's true.
Maybe that's just stereotyping.
Well, they
Is it
do
though?
actually.
Because it seems to be with some effect.
Well, I mean, show's kind of right. I mean, we do actually have a episode upcoming of the podcast that will talk about that very thing. It's almost like you're trying to lead us into that.
Sure, maybe.
It pisses me off because I subscribe and I pay for Crunchyroll for a very specific thing. I pay for Crunchyroll so I can see anime an hour or so after it airs in Japan. I don't care what the users of Crunchyroll think was the anime of the fucking year. I don't care what the fucking... I don't care. I really fucking don't. Like, as someone who has... I don't really... The older I get, the less I care about award shows, and maybe that's a product of getting older. I don't know. But, like, the first 2 years that they've done this award show, it's been an absolute shit show. Like, why would you keep doing it?
Yeah, the results are shit, but I still think it's a good idea because it does bring members of the Japanese industry and also, like, the dub industry or whatever together. And it gives more legitimacy to the company. Like, okay, I don't like the awards either, but I think it's good for the company.
I mean, yeah, it's a good idea in theory, but I just don't think they're running it right. I don't think that they're.
I don't think anything they can do can make the awards good. Like the results of the awards good. So, whatever.
Props on them for trying, though.
I mean, yeah, it's a noble effort, but I don't think it's an effort that's really worked. I mean, I think that you delegitimize your award show when you have part of your awards being decided by a fan vote, which makes it essentially a popularity contest, and then another part being decided by a group of judges. Like, because no, and this is the kind of the case that I make. Almost all of the awards for the 2017 Anime Awards show were done by a fan vote, with the singular exception of Anime of the Year, which was done by a panel of judges. Now, why the fuck wouldn't you do it all of them the same way? That completely delegitimizes your awards show.
Yeah.
But why does it delegitimize?
Because it makes certain awards dependent on certain things, and then other awards dependent on other things. It basically means that there's a huge disparity between what an award is worth based on what the award is.
I mean,
so basically Crunchyroll was saying the only award that actually matters is Anime of the Year, because it's the only one we were actually serious about.
I guess I would personally think that there would be more legitimacy in the fan awards.
I don't know. Have you seen? Did you see some of the shit they voted for?
Yeah, it's shit results, but it reflects more people. Like, why would I care about the judges' opinions? I care more about the fans' opinions.
I don't care. 2 years, and I have no intention of watching next year.
Okay.
Honestly,
what would you rather see?
I would rather see Crunchyroll take all of that money that they spend on the fucking award show and the fucking Crunchyroll Expo. I'd rather see them invest that in fucking better servers and a better service for their streaming side. That's what I want.
So you'd rather them not do the award show?
I'd rather them not do the award show. I'd rather them not do the convention.
I think that's like a straw man argument where it's like what you want is them to improve their servers. So then you're like, oh, don't do the awards, do the servers. Which I don't think is really makes too much sense.
It might not make sense, but isn't it fair?
I mean,
I don't think necessarily if they stop doing the awards that they will have enough resources to do the servers. And I also don't think I don't think that the resources put into the awards will be enough to fix the servers. Like the reviews on Elation the reviews on Glassdoor about Elation have said, I think the main issue is the management and them just like allocating resources in general.
True. It definitely seems like it's a management problem, but at the end of the day, management most likely came up with the Anime Awards and most likely came up with the Crunchyroll Expo.
I still don't say that like if you stop the expo and you stop the awards, then that will necessarily be like a good thing for the servers.
Oh, I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be a cure-all or it's going to fix everything, but obviously if they didn't do both of those things, they would have more money on hand.
I mean,
Exactly.
you could
And
say
it's
that
a matter
about
of
any
priorities.
aspect of the website.
Well, true. I think you are right. I think the biggest problem is management. I think that it's what management is telling their engineers to focus on. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
I think that's why you have the technical issues. That's why you have
Or just like decide to go all in on VRV, shut down Crunchyroll, and like make VRV like a good engineered site, and like that would be if instead of spreading out your engineers between two different websites.
Yeah,
Would
exactly.
that be a solution? Yeah.
Yeah, it would be. It would be a solution, but don't focus on Verve with the facade of keeping Crunchyroll open as some kind of like legacy or nostalgia. Either just say, okay, all of you people that have Crunchyroll accounts and you're paid subscribers, guess what? You're now paid subscribers of Verve. Congratulations. We're not using Crunchyroll anymore. We're going to move everything over there.
You know, maybe they're like testing the waters, and that's what they're eventually gonna do.
That may be so, but tell us.
I don't know, like, from a business perspective, if maybe telling you would be, I don't know if that's really the smartest thing to do from a business perspective, but from a consumer perspective, I can see how you're feeling conned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
especially
it's a
since I
matter of
fucking pay for it.
communication. Like, you can't just not communicate. And I'll be honest, I honestly don't feel that Crunchyroll is really good with consumer communication. Like,
No,
I do feel
I
they
don't
need
think it's
to
great
do
with
better.
HR, no.
But at the same time, I can understand you don't exactly want to talk about everything if we all figure out, hey, Crunchyroll's being abandoned, everything's moving on to Verve, like what's that gonna do to Crunchyroll numbers? Like, don't they want to keep it going? Do they want it abandoned? Like, what's going on? There's only going to be confusion and panic and anger set in where everyone's just feeling shit. And that does not lead to anything good.
Well, here's the thing that they should do, and if I were like an HR manager or I was involved in some kind of community outreach or whatever the fuck they want to call it, what I would do is I would send out a survey to all the paid subscribers of Crunchyroll, and I would have just a few questions on there. I would say, hey, you're a paid subscriber. Have you used Verve? Yeah. Did you like it? Yeah. Tell us what you liked about it. Tell us what you didn't like about it. That's what I would do, and I would say that is a better gauge of what the actual community thinks than forcing some people over there occasionally.
Exactly. Make it more. Give us a reason to go there, like an actual reason.
Yeah, besides the fact that your servers can't handle more than 5 people at a time watching something.
Exactly.
I don't know. I know that there's a lot of people out there that never have to deal with it, but for those of us that have had to deal with it, it's very, very, very frustrating. So, but the good news is that you have options. Besides,
you laugh because they're not really options.
yeah, they are. I actually think that
hey,
Netflix.
so.
I think that, hey, listen, whatever you want to say about Netflix's like release schedule, I've never had Netflix tell me, hey, our servers are a little busy. You mind going to Hulu for a little while?
Yeah, never had to deal with that.
I've
And
never
I
had a
don't
single
ever recall
issue.
running into that on Hulu, on Funimation. I've never really had issues like that on other apps or websites.
Do you know in the entire time I've had a Netflix account, there's only been 3 specific times that I haven't been able to access Netflix. One of those was for server maintenance at 3 o'clock in the morning, which I understand. I mean, occasionally you're going to have server maintenance. That's the nature of a tech company, especially a streaming service. And the other 2 reasons I couldn't access the site was because the power was out because a hurricane hit Florida. I don't know about everyone else, but that's a pretty good amount of uptime.
That's a fantastic amount of uptime. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, and again, I say what you want about having the bulk uploads where you actually have to binge. Netflix is actually doing a better job in a technical sense than Crunchyroll is right now.
Actually, I have like more technical problems with Netflix than I do Crunchyroll.
Well, you're Canadian. Who cares?
Rude. Okay. My main issue is that I think their maximum quality is not as good as Crunchyroll, first of all. And second of all, they don't force the video to maximum quality. Crunchyroll, when you select 1080p, it forces the video to 1080p. For Netflix, if you select 1080p, it doesn't force it. It waits like a couple minutes. It's like, eventually we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. And I'm like, no, just fucking force it to 1080p. But it won't do it, which pisses me off. Because I'm like, I don't want to watch the first 5 minutes of this show in like 480p. Just fucking force the pixels up. But it won't do that. And that really pisses me off. That makes me like not even want to watch Netflix at all. But some shows are only on Netflix, so I guess I have to. Like, I would rather Crunchyroll with all their shit as long as they force up the quality, because I cannot deal with low quality on Netflix.
Well, let me ask you this: Do you think that Crunchyroll, as it stands now, do you think they'll ever have 4K anime?
I don't think anime is even made in 4K.
You can
Not
upscale
yet.
it.
Okay, but like, okay, it's not about the pixels. It's like the images on Crunchyroll are crisp. The images on Netflix are like blurry for me.
Are you accessing it the same way you access Crunchyroll with Apple TV?
Apple TV is worse for me, but I've tried it on both. Actually,
Well, I mean,
Apple-
the question
Apple
I have is, have
TV
you used your computer to access it?
yes, I have.
Okay. Well, maybe it's because you have a Canadian internet access. I don't know.
No, it's the
So
website.
much
It's
hate
either
on
the website or
Canadians
the
today,
region.
Alex.
Because
Because he's a xenophobe.
all I have to do is just say whatever, and he'll say sorry.
Fuck you.
Damn, going on that stereotype.
Canadians apologize 45,000 times a day. You didn't know this?
I mean,
Sure.
Moving on
Like,
from the soft
please
racism.
stop.
soft.
So yeah, I mean, you have Netflix, you have Amazon. They don't have Anime Strike anymore, but they still are licensing anime. You do have that option. I mean, you have Funimation, which is basically the same thing as Crunchyroll anymore.
Okay, but are these really options?
I mean, yeah. I mean, they do have stuff available, and then you have
have,
the
like-
newcomer, which is High Dive, which is basically where Sentai is putting all of their stuff.
They have like a fraction of the library of Crunchyroll.
Well, that's because Crunchyroll's been around since 2006.
I'm just saying that they're like, ooh. I'm saying that they're not that great competition.
Not
Well,
yet,
in
but I
in terms
imagine
of
if you give
library
them a little
size-
bit of time,
Yeah,
they're
in
gonna
terms
build
of
up.
library size, you're right, but in terms of like quality, technical quality, I'd say all three of those are very much higher than Crunchyroll.
Well, the thing is, the higher the library, the more the shows you have, the more shows you have, the more people who are interested in that show will watch. So then higher library means higher consumers. So if you like proportionalize the library size to consumers, then their consumer base is not, their anime only consumer base is very small.
Well, that's very true. But again, you could say that if Crunchyroll only licensed half of the shows that came out every season, but they were the bottom half, people still wouldn't watch it.
Wait, what?
If they were the bottom half in terms of what people thought about them, how people would rate the shows, if they were like 6s or less on Mal, no one would watch Crunchyroll, but they'd still have a bigger library.
I don't know about all
Not
that.
necessarily, because I find that even if it's a shit show, people will watch it if it's on Crunchyroll.
That's true. I mean, people
I think
watch
that's
Attack
like
on
more
Titan.
of a
That's where it is.
more of a
so.
double down effect, because they've already established that they have a large library. So then, since the consumers already like have the subscription, they're like, oh, there's this other show you have that is like shit, but you have it, so I'll watch it. But if it was a chronic thing where they got all the shit shows like consistently, then yeah, people would stop subscribing to Crunchyroll.
I don't know. Crunchyroll has issues. I think we can all agree on that.
Most definitely. And it's not like other websites don't have issues either. It's
Oh,
just
no.
the fact that Crunchyroll is supposed to be the biggest bitch out there, and it's just being a biggest disappointment out there.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of online streaming, it was really kind of the first, and for many, many years, it was the king of the hill. And it's kind of, for me personally, especially as someone who's been a long time subscriber, it's kind of sad to watch it, because it's almost like you're watching your pet dog die.
Jeez.
Okay.
That's I don't know if it's that dark, but sure.
I mean, seriously, for something that's been part of your life for that long, it is literally like watching your dog die.
Sure. So emotional.
I mean, I can understand. Crunchyroll is... It has a special place in my heart as well. I'll agree to that.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
I don't think
that's what we're trying to say. We do care about this, is the thing. Like, we really do. That's why we're talking about it.
Yeah, and it's not just Crunchyroll. Like, I think that you should make every concerted effort wherever you live to watch anime legally, because at the end of the day, it helps the industry, it helps the people that make the anime, it helps the people that license the anime here in America and across the world. But the problem is that the companies that do this have to make it accessible, and that's the problem. I don't think that a lot of these companies, especially Crunchyroll, but also others, are making it to where it's just not as accessible as it used to be. Which is sad, because in an era where we have... it's probably easier than ever to become an anime fan. Certainly easier than the mid-90s when I became an anime fan.
It is the easiest era, yeah.
It's sad that you're watching these companies kind of, like, corral you into these decisions you don't want to make. I don't know. It's very frustrating for me.
It's frustrating, and it's a damn shame.
Yeah, but I think that, like we mentioned, I don't think there's any one specific fix that will fix everything. I think there's a concerted effort that needs to be made with, first and foremost, with management. I think the management probably needs to pay more attention to what the engineers want, and they need to also for Crunchyroll in particular, they need to make a concerted effort as to whether they're actually going to move over to Verve or they're going to maintain a separate, site for all of that. I think they need to make that decision first, because that's a thing that just bugs me to no end.
Well, considering Verve is like an aggregate site, it would kind of make sense to keep them separate. But if you're going to keep them separate, make a separate team for them, because apparently there's not a separate team for them according to the Glassdoor reviews.
Yeah.
So, have a dedicated team for Crunchyroll and one for Verve. Don't
separate your people, because we need
exactly.
all the people we can get.
No, separate your people.
Well, no, okay, no, sorry. I was trying to say the other thing. My bad.
I knew what he meant.
Don't reuse your people.
No, and also, it's also worth pointing out that, let your engineers be creative too, because I think that's how a lot of things come about in terms of, like, look at Crunchyroll. Its user interface hasn't changed in, 5 or 6 years?
A very
probably
long
longer.
time.
I mean, it looks pretty much the same as it did almost half a decade ago. Are you telling me it can't look better?
Like, it
Honestly,
works, but there's room for experimentation. You can always implement a beta site.
I will say this, for all the shit that it got, Amazon's Anime Strike actually had some features that I think more streaming services should offer, like the ability to resize, reposition, and recolor your subtitles.
And on Amazon, they still have that, and I actually use it a lot still, because it fucking works. I love it.
I absolutely love that about Anime Strike, and I love it about Amazon's video player. I really wish that more streaming services would incorporate that and not have hard-coded subtitles in their videos.
Like, give us the choice. It doesn't cost you much to give us the choice so that we can.
I'm not a user interface engineer, but I can't imagine that it would take that much of an engineering feat to add that simple feature into Crunchyroll, where you could resize the subtitles, recolor them, and reposition them.
You want those yellow subs back?
There are times when, yes, I do.
Stop! Oh, man.
Well, if you're watching a scene that has a white background, the last thing you want are white subtitles.
I have a black border though.
There's a big difference though. Like, if I can change where they are, if I can change the size of them, it's so much better. And for someone like me who has vision issues, it's a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
you should just watch dubs.
I do watch dubs.
Yeah. You should just exclusively watch dubs.
I can't do that. How will I watch Darling in the Franxx?
You won't miss out on anything.
Fuck you, bitch.
Jeez.
Fuck you. That's all I got. I'm about to fucking burst a blood vessel, but that's all I got.
Oh my god. Well, yeah, Crunchyroll hasn't changed in the longest time. I think it's always had these problems, like well, I guess not the server issues, but its player, the features on its video player haven't really changed. I think the only update it's gotten was like it got better mobile apps, right?
Yeah.
That was somewhat recent. But like the desktop app, I mean the desktop player hasn't changed. I would like it to get better because there's definitely room for improvement, but I mean, for me personally, I'm satisfied with how it is now. It hasn't gotten so bad that I'm like angry and it's unusable for you, like it is for you, Alex, because you know, it still works for me because I'm in Canada. So I'm okay with Crunchyroll for now.
Now being
All
the
right.
important word.
Yeah, for now.
It does disturb me that Elation took over the team for Crunchyroll and they're not focusing on it anymore, because I did definitely see Crunchyroll as a quote unquote company for the people, for the fans. A fan company who really cared about what the consumers thought, but apparently they've changed, which is saddening. So
And
it would
worrisome.
definitely be great. Yeah, it would definitely be great if they went back to that kind of orientation for their company. But for now, it's fine. I feel like if they keep going the way they are, they will eventually, become unusable, because as the times progress, their competition is gonna get better, and they're just gonna stay the same, and it might become just unworkable. So they
Yeah.
definitely need to step up their game.
Yeah, and mark my words, Netflix will eventually do weekly releases. I guarantee it. And I don't know when, but it will eventually happen.
Weren't they doing that with Violet Evergarden?
They
For
did, but not in the
overseas?
United States.
It might not be US, but they did do it, and it shows they're already doing stuff like this.
I actually had to get a fucking Japanese Netflix subscription and use a VPN to watch Violet Evergarden weekly, but it was worth it.
Yeah,
Wait,
fuck that.
so you
I'm not
actually
doing all
paid
that.
for it?
Yeah, I paid for a Japanese Netflix subscription.
You're such a weeb.
I only paid for the 1 month or 3 months, and then I canceled it.
Such a weeb.
I will say though that the Japanese Netflix is pretty good. The thing that boggled my mind was it wasn't even available week to week in the U.S., but I could watch the English dub of Violet Evergarden on the Japanese Netflix site.
Nice.
I mean, that sounds pretty awesome from what I'm hearing.
Yeah. By the way, the English dub of Violet Evergarden is really good if you get a chance to watch it.
Really?
Yeah.
Speaking of being exclusive to Japan, I think the industry on Japan's side is still stuck in DVD and Blu-ray sales and not really focusing on streaming. And I feel like as the industry shifts towards streaming, which I feel like it eventually will, I mean, it has to, honestly, if it wants to keep up with the consumer base.
If it wants to
then-
compete, for sure.
if it wants to make money, then I feel as the industry shifts, then the streaming sites will have to actually be forced to get better, or they'll get more funds and be able to expand their companies themselves. So
Yeah.
maybe it'll happen over time.
I think it has to, otherwise the companies themselves will go under. Because people will
I
stop
definitely-
watching.
No, I think well, as long as piracy is available, they may
Piracy
go under.
will always be available.
Yeah.
I
no matter
mean,
what, people will find a way.
I don't think so. I definitely think that eventually, maybe not in the next 5 years, but eventually, piracy may become much, much more difficult.
Maybe. We'll have to see. Well, there's always new anti-piracy measures coming out, but for now, you always have the option. Not
now.
saying you should do that, but it does exist.
Just in case.
Anyway, so I think that's about all we got to say about that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't have much else. No.
All right. Well, thank you all out there for dropping in to listen to us. We hope you enjoyed listening to this like tag team bitching session, because we always enjoy bringing this kind of shit to you. If you want to check out previous episodes of the podcast, you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and or YouTube. If you want to keep up with what we're doing and have a little more fun, you can join our new Discord server, become a member of our Facebook group, follow our Twitch channel, and visit our website. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, criticisms, or concerns on this or any episode, feel free to shoot us an email. Links to all of these things will be down below in the description. As well, I will also include links to some of the articles and stuff that we mentioned in this episode. Other than that, as always, I've been your host, Alex, and I will see you next time. Say goodnight, everybody.
Night.
Bye-bye. Have fun.
Bye.